my job is to make sure to help build these communities. And I know a community that we're definitely trying to grow more of is here in Brazil, both on the documentation side as well as in the coding and development side. So I wanted to take a few slides just to talk a little bit more about how people can get more involved in the community and learn about what you can garner, what you can receive from the community to help you in your own development. So as I said, the development is powerful. Using development with the community makes it even more powerful. So I should ask first, who's in the house? How many designers do we have in the room here today? All right, excellent, good. And how many people call themselves content writers, webmasters? They do something to add content to their website. All right. And then how many people like penguins and open source software? Just making sure I'm in the right place. Okay, good. That's pretty much what we'd expected here today. Excuse me. One of the things that we want to make very clear, the reason why we're all such big proponents of open source software is because, especially in years like 2009, we don't need to be spending our time focusing on code and development. The less time we can do that, the better. We should focus on the innovations and not on trying to fix a lot of broken pieces of software that are out there. What we like to think Joomla has is really allows for content managers and designers to make the changes they need to their message on their website without having to go down the coding route, without having to crack open a PHP book to help get them to move forward. The other thing is it's quite obvious that a couple years ago, a lot of these things that I have up here on the screen were not big players, or they were just starting to grow. Now I can't get away from yet another inbox with Twitter over here, and I've got to keep up with what's going on with my friends on Facebook, and there's some crazy video going on and stuff in Iran that I need to know what's going on there. And then I've already got a bunch of Flickr photos up from this conference here. So as content managers, we're overwhelmed already. Before this stuff even existed, we had to keep the blog going, we had to keep the website going, and now, a couple years later, we have to deal with all this. How the heck are we going to do this if we're fighting the code? So our one goal here is to really provide the content team a website, help your content team and the visitors to your website a way to help build these communities, to share knowledge, to exchange information without having to focus so much on the code. So we obviously know that you've got to do something to grow your online presence, but the big issue is we've got to make sure it's not going to overwhelm you. It's got to be easy and simple and ready to go, and also scale with you over time. What's critical to remember, though, with the awesome fist bump there by Mr. and Mrs. Obama, is that the relationships are more important than the tools. Very important to note this. All the code that Anthony talks about and all the code I love to support and use and help our organizations grow is not nearly as important as the relationships that those people are making with their visitors on their websites. We've got to focus that energy there. To give you an idea of what we do in the Joomla world to help make that happen, Joomla focuses on building these relationships with our community through our web forums and not on mailing lists. Now, developers in the room might not be big fans of that, because developers are often used to the mailing list, and yes, you can obviously subscribe to threads and changes in our forums, but we're very focused on getting input and quality information from non-developers as well. The user interface, the way designers utilize, help that is through the forums. To give you an idea, there's been over 1.6 million posts on our forums, and there's been 10 million plus downloads of Joomla in the past 2 years. And just to note, I actually made the quote for this slide about 4 days ago, and in the last 4 days, 80,000+ downloads of Joomla have happened. It's incredible. The community is growing. It's huge. We see very similar things happening in other open source communities. But with one like ours that's very, very focused on the end user, we've got to keep up, and utilizing forums is a great way for us to do that. So a couple of parting thoughts here for you in getting involved. Obviously, as I said, we're trying to continue to build a community here in Brazil. We'd love to have more people enter and help us out with a lot of different things we're doing. First, make sure to share knowledge. Ask questions on the forum. If you have ideas, tips, tricks, ways you've made fixes, share that knowledge on our forums. Other people will definitely use it, especially if it's in a local language, especially if it's in Portuguese. Second, submit patches. If you see a problem, you go to the forum, and somebody there says, I see this as well. There is no solution out there. Assume that you're the person that can make the change, and that you are the one that can help fix it. Submit a patch, go onto joomlacode.org, joomlacode.org. That's where the repository of all the code for the project is, and submit a patch. If you don't know how to submit a patch, I believe that there's actually a wiki that we have that tells you how to do it, and then you can always go online and ask questions as well. Finally here, we, especially people like me, non-developers, are always looking for non-developer help as well. A couple ways this can be done. One, starting a user group. In your major cities, in your local towns, user groups are something that Open Source Matters helps to get started, helps to recognize. If you want to start one here in Sao Paulo or in Rio, wherever you want, let us know. We'd be happy to help make that happen. One way that happens really well is through events. And our regional and local events are called Joomla Days. Joomla Days is just essentially people coming together to talk about their experiences using the project. And finally, help us with our Portuguese translation, both in the documentation as well as and just kind of spreading the word on the forum. There's actually a Portuguese section of our forum in case English might not be a language that you're comfortable with. You can share knowledge through the Portuguese section of our forum. With that, here's our contact information. If you're looking to get more involved in the community or trying to spread the word, definitely contact me at the top. And Anthony is always available to help answer any questions you may have in deep development stuff. Anything else, Anthony? We'd be happy to take some questions if we have time. Maybe we have time, I'm not sure. We're digging in to see. Perfect.
Yes, we have it.
Excellent.
You have 20 minutes.
How many?
20.
20. Excellent. Well, excellent. Well, thank you for listening. We're happy to answer some questions.
Perguntas?
Não, beleza. Não, boa. Depois vamos por lá. Acaba por aqui. Acho que isso aqui é a última já. Falou. Outro por lá.
Boa noite. Gostaria de ter uma pergunta bem a respeito da questão do open source, principalmente no mercado corporativo. Quando você fala em open source, a gente entende o Joomla, o Drupal e o WordPress como algumas das melhores ferramentas do mercado, mas ao mesmo tempo ainda tem aquele medo das empresas com relação ao fato de não ter um fornecedor por trás, uma empresa de suporte, alguém que garanta o bom funcionamento do sistema. Queria que você explicasse um pouco como é essa relação, digamos, entre o Joomla para uso empresarial comparado a soluções como IBM, Microsoft, Oracle e outros códigos proprietários. Quais são os argumentos, por exemplo, que um profissional hoje de TI pode usar para convencer uma empresa a migrar, digamos, para o open source, no caso, no CMS?
Okay. Great question. Get that a lot. One of the first ways that I approach that is look at the quality of your vendor.
Veja a qualidade do fornecedor. Se você usar IBM, não estou dizendo que IBM não é alta qualidade, mas uma vez que você vai com IBM, você fica preso. Se a IBM não cuidar das suas necessidades, você não pode mudar. A única solução seria mudar totalmente para outra empresa, inclusive outro pacote de software. Código aberto permite o seguinte, e o poder que eu vejo Você encontra uma pequena empresa local que ajuda a dar suporte, você ajuda a economia da sua cidade. Se não fizer o que você quer, você encontra outro para o mesmo produto e você mantém o software que você está usando, certo? Então, o poder